Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Tuesday's Talk with Grada. Today, I am going to take a deep dive into my own history. I want to talk a little bit about why I wrote this book. This is my second book in a part of 3. Like I wrote a trilogy about my life, and this one is called The Underbelly, which was actually a really difficult book to write, and it took me many years. But it's available on Amazon and in the Purple House. So The Underbelly is really about a period of time that I suffered from intense mental illness. And many of you haven't heard that journey. And last week I got a message from a client who started reading the book, and she said, "I'm so sorry, Grada, I didn't know how much you had been through. Like, I've known you for many years, and I didn't know how intense your suffering was." So I'm going to talk about that today, and also give you some helpful tools or insights in how you can apply some of this to your life, right? So as many of you know, I got hit by a truck at age 43, really when I was in the prime of my life. I made a very good recovery, even though like I was left paralyzed and dying on the road, as you can imagine if you get hit by a truck from behind, with like many broken bones, spinal injuries. I needed a colostomy bag and a catheter because of the injuries, and for 7 days I didn't know if I was going to survive. Nobody could touch me because of the amount of internal bleeding and so on. So riding on that, the afterwake of that was that 2 years later I started to suffer from incredibly intense mental illness. So mental illness is something that, how do I say it? There's still stigma attached to mental illness. And of course, in hindsight, I realized I had often been on the brink of depression or anxiety for many years, even before my truck accident. It's just that the truck accident blew the lid of something that was already simmering in my body. And as a healer, like, I want you to know, by the way, that I kept working during most of this period of my life, because I found that when I worked with clients, I got answers for myself. Because every client I have, it's like looking in the mirror. When you're a healer, you have to approach your clients like that, right? We can only see in others what we have learned to see in ourselves, and we can only go deep into the shadows of other people's lives and pain if we've been prepared to go there. So after I had the truck accident, I entered, of course, the medical world, and I was supported by psychologists, psychiatrists. I spent time in a psychiatric hospital. I received counselling and many of those things. But actually none of it helped me mentally. Like, while I enjoyed the fact that I was supported because I love humans and I felt their integrity and how much they really wanted to help me, none of it really helped me at all, because I actually had to do the work myself, and it was integrating my wounded inner children. So I want to shine the focus on that today again. All healing, all parts of healing are really to do with integrating all the lost parts inside of you. And so at the time when, this was the year 2008, I couldn't sleep anymore, I couldn't hold my food down anymore, my digestion wasn't working, I was constantly in absolute terror of life, terror of everything, and I tried to hide it for Peter and the kids. But in the end, I couldn't hide it anymore, and I was admitted to a psychiatric hospital where they wanted to give shock treatments, but I didn't want to do that because I knew I want to get to the bottom of this, and it was good for me to be in a safe, supportive environment away from Peter and the children, so I could really focus on myself 100%. And so all the thoughts that I was thinking at that time, they were all like thoughts of suicide, thoughts of catastrophe, really dark thoughts of torture. It was just such a bad time. I've written about it in my book, by the way, which is a real eye-opener. So in the psychiatric hospital, we focused on cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT, and it was like catch your thoughts and turn them around. And so like I was doing it with all my might because I wanted to get rid of those thoughts. But what I didn't realize was at the time was those thoughts didn't belong to what I call the real self, right? The Grada that you see now. They belong to parts of me that have split off during my childhood. They were coming from my wounded inner children. So I just had to spend time finding those inner children, one child at a time, one split at a time, and one soul particle at a time, and heal those, constantly heal those, heal myself basically. And so I used to ask myself the question, I used to engage the universe, by the way, because even though I felt cut off from the universe and everything else, which is a very lonely place, I still knew that the universe was the only place that was going to help me. And also at many, many different times I was conscious of the presence of angels around me, so that I never fully entered that utterly dark place where I was completely beyond help, even though it felt like it at times. So here, if you feel like that, like you are stuck in a pattern of negative thinking, analytic thinking, suicide, depression or anxiety, I want you to know that this won't be healed till you find how old the child is. How old is that child that these thoughts belong to? Because at some point this part of you split from the bigger nervous system, and it didn't grow along with you. You kept growing and developing, but this part was left behind, so you have to go and find that part. And in a minute I'll do a meditation with you that it will be really, really helpful. But here are some questions that you can ask yourself. You can ask yourself, what am I not seeing yet? Like, show me. And you ask this to the universe or your higher self or your spirit or source or God, whatever you like to call it, your helper beings, your spiritual team. You say, what am I not seeing yet? Okay, and then that's question 1. How do I need to heal that part of me, right? But you can also ask, how old am I? If this is the thinking that's occurring all the time and you can't rest and you're feeling stressed and all the rest, you say to yourself, how old is this child? And you mean your inner child. And the answer will come to you, like if your body says 3 years old or 10 years old, go with it. But I want you to know that you really need to search for an answer that's 8 years old or younger. If your body says 12 years old, it's probably true, but there was something else that happened before that time, and then the 12-year-old, something like that happened again. And we really, for maximum benefit, it's better if you go back all the way back to conception sometimes, or can even be past life soul particles. So you say, how old is this child? How do I need to heal this pain? So you ask your body, what do you need from me today? And your body might say, I want you to go to bed, and I'll show you more, like where it's safe, or I want you to have a hot bath, I want you to journal, I want you to sit in the garden under a tree, I want you to ring Auntie such and such. You know, just allow the answers to come to you, because a lot of the time we miss out on information and energy and help because we're not waiting long enough. So and then be ready to receive the answers. So the intention always needs to be for you, there needs to be powerful intention that you want to heal this part, because without intention things don't work very well in the universe. So the intention also needs to be, I want to be healed from this kind of thinking. I want to be able to rest properly. The intention can be, I want to have more joy in my life, because if you feel like your joy is being eroded, that usually also means you've just simply numbed out a pain, and the pain belongs to an inner child. So let's just discuss how that happens. So I wrote it down so that I can talk very concisely. So in psychology, it's also known as dissociation. So something painful happens, and the moment that occurs, something splits off from you, like it can be a soul fragment, or like if a soul fragment can be from many lifetimes ago, it can be in your childhood. So we feel a sense of dissociation, so we basically leave our body, and so that's called physical dissociation. But then our soul can literally split off a little bit, so the dissociation is even deeper. And by the way, it's really hard to find these paths by yourself. That's why often people need a good healer with integrity that can do soul retrieval work, right? And so how do you know if you have missing parts, like if bits of your soul have split off and they're not there anymore? Well, often you have, other than negative thinking and stuff like that, you could be a real positive person and still your soul, there are bits missing, and it shows up that sometimes you're feeling emptiness or hollow feeling in your body, like as if you're missing out on your purpose, you don't feel fulfilled, your joy doesn't flow as easy. It literally feels like you've lost something somewhere, and that's actually a soul loss, like a loss from your soul, and we have to go and find that part, retrieve it, and allow it to go back, merge with you, like integrate in your body, and straight away you literally feel such a sense of upliftment and aliveness. So it's really a protective mechanism. So a trauma happens, we're usually looking for a period in your life from conception to age 7 or 8. The trauma is so big that if you didn't dissociate and create a split, it would have felt like you were going to die. So it's totally protective mechanism. But then life goes on, you move on, but these parts of you don't move on. These parts of you stay behind. And also that creates a lot of energy, a dull feeling, a heavy feeling, not feeling connected, not communicating as easily. And so healing is really ongoing work. Like I've worked with clients in the past and they go, well, I've already done that once. Didn't we do this last time? And then, no, well, we did do that last time. But now we're talking about a different part, right? We could have hundreds, if not thousands of parts. It really depends how intensely difficult your childhood was. And then on top of that, we are also dealing with our ancestors, like their stories are living inside ourselves. And then if you look really big picture, we're also dealing with past life issues. Okay, so this is why healing needs to happen on a spiritual, mental, emotional and physical level, right? We can never just properly heal just looking at the physical, or even the mental, like the mental level. Even mindset work, it's really great. I think mindset is really important. I mean, I'm also a mindset coach, but if you listen to me today, you realize that if you get locked into one of those splits, like maybe a 4-year-old child, suddenly you wake up one day and you feel like you don't feel your normal, usual chirpy self, and you feel triggered all the time, you get triggered. Well, suddenly you might be locked into the 4-year-old child. That's why it's good to ask, is this really me? Or is this, how old is this child that's expressing itself through me? And that child, of course, has the mindset of a 4-year-old, which is not the mindset of a 61-year-old that I'm now, right? And if it's really bad, I've seen this in people as well, they get so deeply locked in that they don't even realize they're stuck in a part. And so you might have experienced that with your partner, perhaps, if you're listening to me today, that suddenly one day your partner shows up in a different way. He's not communicating, or she in the same way that you used to, or this is often what happens when people go on a holiday. So your normal situation is changed. You're stepping out of your normal comfort zone, even if a holiday is meant to be fun and happy, and suddenly your partner is all quiet or grumpy or gets sick, because it's like the unusualness of the situation has caused your subconscious mind to retreat in one of your paths. So this is why healing is important. Essentially, all healing work is integration. It doesn't matter if you call it shadow work, inner child work, spiritual healing, or whatever you do. It's all to do with integration. So let's just do a tiny 5 minute, I only really have 5 minutes left, in soul retrieval information, energy information. So I just want you to breathe in through your nose and just close your eyes. And just become aware of the energy in the room. And then breathing in trust. Breathing in trust through your nose. And breathing out trust as well. Just trusting you're part of a bigger picture. That you've been here many, many times. Trusting in the present moment. Trusting that everything is in order, nothing needs to change. Trusting that you're going to find answers. And now I want you to think of a situation that bugs you, that triggers you, or that you want some relief from. Usually when you're triggered, it means an inner child, that's a wounded part of you is activated. It's a wounded inner child. And just ask yourself, how old is this child? Under normal circumstances, you can journal this down, because journaling helps integration. But just get a picture of yourself, a younger you, and what's going on. Shower that inner child, send it a beam of love and compassion. And then ask the question, what do you need from me today to heal you? So you want to heal that part almost before it comes back to you. What do you need to bring in the way of helpers? Does the child need to be surrounded by imaginary friends? By magic creatures? By angels? Does it need your love today? Whatever it needs, just give it to the child. Does it want an ice cream or a toy, something that it missed out on? Usually the wounded child, of course, needs safety, protection, and love. Does it need maternal love or paternal love? Now, if your parents didn't treat you well, I want you to bring in an imaginary, just imagine the Divine Mother figure, or somebody that represents a Divine Mother figure to you. A wise person. It's going to help you, give you the answers. What are you not seeing yet? What was going on for that child at that age? But you're willing to see it today, even if it's ugly, even if you've been in denial. Did some sort of abuse happen? Bearing in mind that all children be born into a fallen world. Things happen that shouldn't have happened. Just let the child know it wasn't his or her fault. She didn't deserve it, he didn't deserve it. Just make the child feel safe. Maybe if the child didn't get fatherly love, just conjure up the divine father figure. Maybe somebody that you've seen in movies, or just anyone that represents unconditional fatherly love and protection. And send it to the child, to your wounded child, so it can rest. The reason you can't rest and relax today is because that inner child hasn't integrated, and it's never feeling safe. It's always got one eye open day and night, maybe both eyes open at night. Just let the child know you're safe now. Show it your environment, how well you're doing today. Today it's all different. And just welcome the child back into your heart center, or wherever it wants to go. If the child doesn't want to be integrated into your being today, that means you need to do some more journaling or integration, listening to music, find a safe space where nobody interrupts you, and give the child priority. Once the child is integrated, you make sure that make the child feel at home every day for a while, because you never want to abandon that child again. That would hurt more than the first time. So make the child feel really peaceful, cherished, lovable and adorable. And they can come back into the room. Now, of course, this is just a little taste of what it feels like to experience true peace and true rest. And, you know, your subconscious mind and your immune system is never older than 7. So think of the implications of that, right? We can't talk to our immune system as if it's an adult. So like if you feel a cold coming on, you have to search for your wounded inner child. If you have cancer or other serious disease or autoimmune disease, you need to treat the wounded inner child. And reach out to it in a way like that you bring all the wisdom that you've garnered over your life and all your love and all your compassion, you bring that to the child. Otherwise, the child doesn't want to come in. And that means it's still living outside of you, and that means you're still feeling a sense of loss, and you can't be as healthy as you want to be, and you don't have as much energy as you would like to have. So the journey is spend time healing, spend time journaling, invest in yourself, get the wise self to find those stunted paths, and it pays off not just for your lifetime today, of course. It's like a gift to your children and grandchildren. They don't have to deal with your issues then, because you're doing that today. And also your ancestors are supporting you in this work too, because your ancestors don't want you to be held back or suffering today because of their unfinished work. And so life is a traumatic experience for most of us, for everyone really, especially for children. Because the reality is, you know, that lots of children suffer really, really deep trauma, from whether it's physical, sexual, mental or emotional, way more than you think. And I've seen everything as a trauma specialist and probably heard everything as well. So I want you to know that you're not the only one, and there are powerful ways that you can retrieve soul particles, and that you can retrieve part of your nervous system, that you can overcome big obstacles, you can heal from your truck accident, whatever that looks like for you. I mean, it can look like a relationship breakup, or it can look like a cancer diagnosis. It can look like anything that is comparative to a truck. You are much, much more powerful than you think. And if you have something like that going on in your life right now, please reach out for help. Pete and I are very, very experienced, so we can help you. And if we can't help you, I will let you know as well. Okay, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for listening again. Hope it made sense what I was telling you. And have a wonderful week. Big love from me, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.